What is up, happy warriors? Welcome back to the Heart to Happiness Summit, aka your project to reversing depression and moving toward a life of happiness and health. And today we're going to speak with an amazing doctor, and he's actually when people think doctor, they see white coat, they see pens, they see prescription pads, and they see like a sterile environment where you're going to walk away with, you know, a 7-minute solution that may or may not bring you happiness. And so, Pedram, we're not going to talk too much today about like science. We're not going to get into the studies. We're going to liberate you guys from all that today. That's a lot of the bullshit that we want to step away from and step more into understanding the chambers of your soul and what really makes you tick and what makes you feel authentic. And so here we are again, Heart to Happiness. And again, reminding you guys that the whole concept of this project is to remind you that happiness is not without, happiness is within. So what Pedram is going to talk today about is something that you probably would never imagine you walk away with a prescription pad written, certain things, certain steps that you can incorporate into your life, all of which are included in his amazing book, The Urban Monk. You guys probably saw me on social media posting the picture of me in front of the backdrop with me doing the splits in my fur boots. And of course, I had so much fun at that event, and I met some amazing people like JJ Virgin was there. Who else was there? Oh, Pedram. I had a dream last night that I was interviewing who was the other doctor that was there?
Mark Hyman.
Mark Hyman. I was interviewing Mark Hyman, and he came to my house for 6 hours. It was like really funny. So living in the dream state thanks to you, which is kind of what I want to play with today. So guys, you've already read the bio in Pedram. I'm not going to waste 3 minutes going into his bio. His energy is going to speak to his bio. So Pedram, welcome to Heart to Happiness Summit, and I hope you guys are ready for this. You got to stick around this whole time for this entire 45 minutes because Pedram's going to change your life and rock your world with his authenticity. I want you to speak today on how we have an environment that is over sterile, over synthetic, oversold, overstressed, and over stagnant. What do you have to say about that?
It turns out a lot because when you start trying to help people, and you get to the point where the people you are helping are doing things that you can't do anything for. Like, you can come in and say, hey, I want to get healthy while you're drinking a Dr. Pepper or smoking a cigarette. I'm just gonna be like, come on, man. Right? Like, your actions speak louder than words. And what's happened is our environment is it's so smothering, right? There's just a lot of bullshit out there. And, at first, I'm sitting there running all sorts of protocols. I'm trying to get people better. We're testing their urine, we're testing their blood, we're testing their saliva, we're testing their hair, we're testing their spouse, we're testing everything, and it's just like, holy shit. Yeah. Okay. So the moral of the story is the world is dirty and it's toxic and you probably shouldn't have had sushi, although someone said sushi is good for you. So what the hell do we do? Right. And, you have to step in and understand that the ownership of your life is on you. And so there's nothing a physician can do for you in the 23 and a half odd hours a day that you're not with them. And the quick visit that you have is there to guide you and to create the bumpers, right? And so that's why I left. I started making movies, I started writing books, and I started doing all the crazy stuff that I do now, because I realized that I was on the wrong side of the spectrum and I was trying to fix things within a broken system. And so the answer is to fix the broken system. And so that's kind of, where I draw my sword and charge. But synthetic, we'll start there.
Yeah.
We live in a world where we're inundated by bullshit. Whether it's the Kardashians on TV or the Toyota Tentathon that you have to go run to and exchange your perfectly good car for a new one. And, you know what I mean? And all the things that the marketing machinery out there are doing to drive us into consumer behavior, and realizing that that's all just kind of a battle for the minds of man and woman, right? Like, that is a war that's being waged on our psyche to make us feel like we're not good enough. Like, you know what? Catherine Zeta-Jones, she's pretty. You're not so pretty. But if you wear this perfume that she has signed her name on, then you could be pretty like Catherine Zeta-Jones. Or you see that guy with a six-pack, you're never going to look like that. But if you drink this shake, You can say you drink his shake. I mean, you know, what is that, right? But it's all about leveraging us to feel like we're not worthy, and that, you know, for us to put money into some product or service or some celebrity endorsement or some shit is going to make us better. And so that's the first layer of synthetic. It's the psychological, spiritual layer, which pulls us away from our love and our families and nature and you know, the beautiful creek that you could be sitting next to right now. And, you know, sitting there binge watching TV. And some TV is okay, right? I'm not a Luddite. I love, you know, I like me my House of Cards. It's well written, but I'm not going to sit there and watch it all night because it's going to disrupt my sleep. So you got to pick your poison. And there's a lot of poison to be picked, right? There is plastic that we're drinking and eating from that is getting into our system, that is affecting our hormones. There are heavy metals that are getting into our bones and into our brains and getting stored in our fat cells. And every time we decide it's time to lose weight, we lose the weight, the toxins come out, and the body says, hey, I don't know where to put these. I don't know how to detox these. So tell the thyroid to slow shit down so I can store fat so I can put this stuff away again, right? So we have our yo-yo weight gain, weight loss. And we live in a world where our recreation usually isn't that great for us. It's like, hey, you know what? This really awesome thing happens. Why don't we just go get shit-faced and feel like terrible tomorrow morning, right? And so, you know, our social life revolves around sometimes poisoning ourselves. And, you know, look, I'm down for a drink. You know, I actually like me some good vodka, but you have to pick your poison. You have to see where you're at in your vitality to say, look, can I even take this hit right now? And if the answer is no, then you don't do it. And if the answer is no, then you look at where your vitality is at and what you need to do to boost that, because the arrow is going to keep coming, right? The world isn't getting any cleaner. There's diesel trucks out there. There's all sorts of stuff happening. And it's going to take a good generation or two to clean this up. And it's going to happen because people like you and me and all the good people in the world who've stepped up and said enough of this are doing things about it, but it ain't going to happen overnight. So you have to be careful in the foods that you consume. You have to be careful in the information that you consume, and you have to be careful in, like, the, you know, the products that you have in your house, like the shit under the kitchen sink. I mean, half that stuff causes cancer, right? So you got to really look at what it is that you're exposing yourself to, because that's half the battle is fighting the vitality fight and trying to just, you know, feel healthy in a world that is smothering you, you know, on a cellular level.
Yeah. Yeah, that I heard you interviewing David Wolf on your very first podcast, the show that you did with him. It was sometime last year, and you guys flowed so well. I mean, it's like you get two geniuses together, and but it's not so overly scientific, overly hyped, and it's just real. It's like how we've lost our way. We've so lost our way, and we're, you know, following what we're just following blindly, and then people are wanting to blame and point and say it's like other people's fault for the reason that they're feeling like crap. And I think, you know, one of the top 10, I think I've been referencing these in my interviews, is that there's, you know, one of the top 10 ways that you can guarantee to be unhappy is to blame other people and to put the responsibility in someone else's hand, which is giving your power away. I mean, we give our power away so much. And I think that people are really trying to take their power back. In fact, you said synthetic, and it's like, I almost feel hypocritical for not pointing out the obvious, that yes, when I was a bodybuilder and I was at 10% body fat, my very first photo shoot 5 years ago when I first got into this, you know, I played pro soccer. I was always an extreme athlete, so I'm an extreme person. And I got my boobs done because I was at 10% body fat and I saw nothing. And I was like, where did my boobs go? Where did my womanhood go? And so I was part of that synthetic era for a while, and I felt like everything needed to be outside of me, and I caved into the peer pressure that a lot of, I think the bodybuilding world is kind of going a little extreme too on that hand, that if you don't do this, if you don't drink that, if you don't hang out with these people, if you don't post this way, if you don't pose this way, then you're not going to be accepted, and therefore you're going to be abolished from the society that reeks of unhappiness and synthetic everything. So I wasn't not part of that path. And so I'm not speaking to the fact that we all should be that. I don't think there's any way to not be synthetic something in our lives. I think that it's just about offsetting it. So go ahead.
I think what you're talking about is a struggle for identity. and we all
Mm-hmm.
need to belong somewhere, right? And the frame of reference in the world that we live in is really, what is there outside of me that's going to define me? What is there outside of me that is going to make me whole, make me happy, and make me loved? And I think the moral of the story, and what you're doing your whole event on here, which is something I'm very enthusiastic about, is it's an inside game. And so what we are looking for outside of ourselves is what we need to find deep within our being. And people go, okay, well, that's so hippy dippy. And it's just like, well, I'm sorry. It's just true. And the more I age, the more I hang out with the genius people that I hang out with, and I've sat with some of the best, the answer is always the same, which is, asking the question, who am I, right? What am I putting these boobs on for anyways? And, look, certain things, like, I get it. Like, dresses don't look good when your boobs can't hold them up. You know what I'm saying? So you know what I'm saying? Like, I get how certain things are aesthetic, and you've got to kind of, maintain that. For me, I would got to go deeper into that and be like, 10% body fat, bodybuilding. What drove you to that, right? And what
Yep.
made you stay on that kind of exercise addictive cycle that then started shifting your perspective on body image and all that? And that right there is dopamine, right? That right there is the drug in our brain that constantly needs to kind of get that stimulation to kind of feel alive. And that's where I think meditation comes in really handy. Is learning how to meditate builds the prefrontal cortex, which is the serotonergic part, which is the calm and happy neurotransmitter that starts to balance out that like extremely driven, results oriented, only win or die trying type of wiring that I think is kind of getting us to all get a little crazy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we all do it. I mean, look, we all just part of our animal brain needs us to belong. But then we end up belonging to a bunch of idiots in a group of people that just isn't really healthy for us, and it's toxic. And then we find that it's like, well, who am I and what am I doing with these people? And it's all just a bunch of lonely people trying to bond together to not ask the important question, which is, who am I?
Yeah, it's a distraction. I posted something the other day, and I always get in trouble for this. And my definition of getting in trouble is, pushing people's comfort zone and pushing them over the edge and getting them really into their who the hell am I identity. And when you start to shake their identity and something that they've latched onto in this situation too codependently, it shakes their being. It rocks their entire existence. Kind of like, like what happened with you when you were more in Oriental medicine, but you were still seeing like all these lab tests and all this stuff, and like, what is all this? Like, we just need to get back to basics. But that took a major identity exfoliation from the things that you were doing, the things that you studied, the money you spent in it, the time that you spent in it. And like, no, it's okay. It's like life can be an Etch-a-Sketch if we just can take our ego out of it and find some humility in, okay, maybe this isn't the right thing. Maybe I can shift and evolve and then meet these new people that can help me move in that direction. I posted a picture of a guy who had like every vein was popping out of his arm, and his shirt said "Train to Kill." And I was like, kill who? Like, what are you killing?
A soldier? Yeah, like, I get trained to kill as a martial artist, but that's just a dumb thing to say on a shirt.
Yeah, and it's just what I see in this industry. It's just a lot bit too extreme. And that's what I love so much about you, is that we have swung so far in this extreme over here. And whenever I see or feel myself going extreme, I can literally feel it. And that's what happened with me when I stepped on stage and I was at the national level show, and I was like looking at these behemoth, top 5 women who I'd never wanted to aspire to. And they said, in order to get there, you have to take these steroids and drugs. There's no other way around it. If you're going to get in the cover of a magazine, you are going to have to take these drugs. And I was like, F that. Yeah. F that. I closed my curtains. I was in my room. I was depressed for 5 days. I gained 7 pounds in 2 days. and then I went straight to get my yoga certification. It was like how extreme it was. Mm-hmm. So you said something about something that you said, like, happiness is an inside job. And I talk about how we do one thing is how we do everything. And so exploring within ourselves and the chambers that we have not yet tapped into. You talk about this in the Urban Monk, and I really like it, about how you actually did study with monks and you sat with the Dalai Lama and you were in traveling for 6 months, which is similar to what I did too. And the over stagnant, and you talked about traveling and how you said something in here, and I'll find it when you're talking right now, but traveling and what it does to you, and especially traveling alone, and you get to travel within. So can you speak on that, about how we're kind of boxed in, and how traveling, and even just traveling within our own little city and getting outside of our own borders can help us find more happiness through the heart?
So you mentioned something. I don't know if it was intentional or it was just kind of random genius that came out of your mouth, but you said identity exfoliation.
Yeah.
Which I think is a really awesome soundbite. And so what is the identity that needs to be exfoliated? And who is the storefront that I am perpetuating, trying to be the person I think I need to be, so that, those guys think I'm tough, and those girls think I'm attractive, and those people think I'm successful, and that person thinks I'm nice, and that person helps guard the secret that they know about me because I have secrets on them, or, all that bullshit, right? All of the things that we layer on in the personality and who we think we need to be for our world. And one of the beauties of traveling alone is you don't take that narrative with you. People don't know that. So as you start telling that narrative to complete strangers who usually could give a shit unless they're trying to sleep with you, right?
Right.
And then they don't give a shit. They're just trying to sleep with you. Is they just want to, they just want to know who you are as a person, not what your story is that you're pretending. And so as you find yourself telling the story and you realize that you are not really that story, then the story starts to lose a little bit of that power and that grip over you. The person that you are pretending to be doesn't need to put as much energy into being that person, because it's fucking exhausting, right?
Yeah.
And so we put all this energy into trying to be this person we think we need to be for all these people, and da-da-da-da, and then we're in a situation where we don't have to do that anymore. And all of a sudden we're like, wow, that feels really good. I have a lot of vitality right now. I have a lot of clarity right now. I get to just hang out with people. Get to take a walk on a beach, go have random sex, drink a bunch of wine and not feel guilty about it, and blah, 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 whatever it is, right? And that comes with shedding or exfoliating the identity that we hold so dear. And most psychologists will tell you that that identity is really just a defense mechanism for the most part, trying to shield us from all the pain and perceived weakness and all the bullshit that we've kind of brought to the party since we were a child, right? And so, again, you could take a bunch of steroids and fake your way onto a cover of a magazine saying, look at me, I win. Those poor girls, what kind of pain, what are they trying to prove that would make them want to layer on muscles and be this person, to make it on the cover of the magazine, to say, I've arrived, and take all those steroids and all this kind of bullshit? I wonder what the suicide rate is on people who've hit the covers and then what, right? Yeah. And that's the emptiness, right? I grew up in Hollywood. I know a lot of people that made it, right, that killed themselves. Mm-hmm. I also, had a bunch of fashion models, they'd have all these, they're patients of mine, and they'd come in and they're these beautiful young girls with like zero body fat, right? And then some asshole would come up and like grab like this non-existent fat and be like, what is this? Yeah. What is this? Right? And it would just send them crying for 3 days. Why? Because they needed to be like uphold this image to be approved. And, whether it's a daddy issue, a mommy issue, or a whatever issue, it's an issue. And the issue is what needs to be addressed, right? Not layering on more armor to pretend everything's okay. That's not how things get fixed. But that's how the market promises solutions, because all you need to do is buy my whiz-bang so-and-so, academy program, pill, potion, lotion, cologne, or, monster truck. And you can hide behind that and not have to deal with who you really are. Mm-hmm. And I'm just tired of it. That's not reality. But that's what everyone's trying to sell everybody. And it's bullshit. And so what the mark of the new era here that we live in is just authenticity and reality, because we've had the other and it hasn't worked. And it's just basically driven a society of hungry ghosts to chase after things, trying to find happiness outside of themselves. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. It's not going to work.
It's not sustainable. Absolutely not sustainable. I tried something too last time. I just, for shits and giggles, I entered my friend. She's a professional bodybuilder and celebrity, and her name is Lauren Powers. I entered her show, and I did figure, I was like, what the hell? What do I have to lose? And I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm just gonna eat chocolate and drink wine whenever I feel like it. I am literally not going to subscribe to the bodybuilding diet. And I'm just gonna, actually what I did, Pedram, is I did more hot yoga. That's all I did. I didn't do anything more in training. I didn't lift any heavier. I just did the same things I was doing, but just added a little bit more hot yoga. And I lost 5% body fat. I actually did more enemas too. So like a little bit more than normal. So I was getting rid of the bad stuff. But I lost 5% body fat in like 2 months, and I jumped on stage at like 13%, and I ended up getting 3rd place. And people are like, oh, how'd you do it? And of course, the more I posted about my journey and like the exercise, and of course the clean food and all that stuff, the more people were following me. And then of course my brain goes, oh, well, you know what? I'll just keep getting people to follow me doing these things that I'm not very passionate about. Like bodybuilding is not my passion. But the more I posted, the more people followed me, and the more it felt good to my ego. But then I was like, but this is not my truth. So then it actually didn't feel good to my spirit. So I was like, it's a way to get people to follow you. But it's like, I think that you've done a good job of getting people to follow you through their hot points, and then getting them to stay there because there is substance there. Kind of like online dating now. I saw you talk about that in your book too. It's like the number one thing that is now in there in terms of religion is not Christianity, is not Catholicism. It is spiritual, but not religious. I was like, whoa, that is such a mind blower to me. Such a mind blower. What's going on there?
Well, I mean, look, the traditional establishment has failed many. And there's a lot of people that still find very great value and everything in church. And, if you're happy there, then awesome, great. It's a wonderful place. But a lot of people have been put off by it. But what are you going to do? You're going to be an atheist? Are you going to be an agnostic? Are you going to be a devil worshiper? Or are you going to find morality and find spirituality without all the like dogma and without all the like stuff that comes with it? Because the stuff is the human stuff, right? It's like, well, I go to church, and then we go over there and we talk about this thing, we talk about our husbands, and then we kind of complain about this, and then the kids are doing that. It's like this it's just this energy drain in a lot of ways, because it's just a bunch of people saying, okay, well, we're at church, therefore we're good, so then we'll just go back to doing what we do, but we can hide the fact that we're talking shit because we're at church. And so, authentic people like smell that 100 miles away, and they're like, this doesn't feel like spirituality to me. I'm out of here, right? So what is spirituality? It's a relationship with the God within you, right? Whatever that is to you. It's about finding that higher morality. It's about finding your connection with your essential self, and the connection that essential self has with all other life everywhere. It's eternal. It's beautiful. It's majestic. And don't stop. Keep digging. That's where you go, right? That's the answer. That's who you are. Not a parishioner of so-and-so, church under so-and-so, and then this priest was okay, but then they brought in another one. I had this story where I was sitting at a table with this guy. This he looked all serious. He had all this shit on his, he had like this crazy hat which says I'm a priest, and like this big beard and medallions, and he dressed the part, right? And so he was from some religious order. He was Christian in orientation, but he was one of those guys. And so I'm sitting next to him at this dinner thing, and I'm just like, wow, so you've devoted your life to this. That's pretty heavy lift, and what's it like? And he's like, it's good, it's that and the other. I'm like, so who drove you into this? Like, what inspired you to do this? And he kind of came up with kind of a half-ass answer, and I was like, so like, who are the enlightened people? Like, who are the people that you would see within your order and be like, that I see the light of God radiating through that person's eyes, and that's what inspired me to say, yes, where's your watering hole? And the guy looks at me like I'm fucking crazy, and he starts thinking about it, and he says, I've never really met anyone enlightened in my order. I hear there's a guy in Antioch who's pretty good. And so he's just sitting there like ruminating. And I'm like, you devoted your whole fucking life to following a path, and you have not met one person who's on that path ahead of you that's happier than you or more enlightened than you, and you just jumped in? You're a moron, right? You're a moron.
The hairstyle looked really cool though. I mean, like if you wear your hair a certain way and you wear Lululemons, you're spiritual as fuck, right?
That's it. Yeah. Well, if I have Starbucks in this hand and Lululemon like hot pants on, it obviously means that I'm more spiritual than you because I do yoga. Yeah. Right. And that's, and that's the same shit. It's just all this identity shit associated with like spirituality and who I am. And now that I'm this person, I don't do this. And, ew, I can't believe you eat meat. I'm a vegan. Fuck you.
Ooh,
right. And there's all of this, right? All of this like lame human, like kind of neurosis stuff overlaid and juxtaposed over our spirituality and juxtaposed over like these new identities that we take on. It's all fake. It's all fabricated. Who the hell are you underneath all of that? And stop talking shit, right? And so that is, I think, one of the things that, that's why I had to run out and write this book, by the way, is because
run out.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It was one of those things. Well, I did, because look, I made movies.
It seems like it. It just seems like I'm talking to you in this book. It's so easy to read.
What's really fun is I had a long call with Audible yesterday, who bought the audio rights, and they're like, the weird thing is we've all read your book and we've already heard your voice in the book. And so it's obvious you're the only person that has to read this for the Audible. And I'm like, yeah, of course. I wouldn't want anyone to read my words. They're my words. Right.
But your inflection is awesome.
I had to run out and write this book. And look, I'm a filmmaker. We have a bunch of TV stuff. We got a bunch of really big lift stuff going on. And so writing a book isn't like, it's not a light lift. And so I decided to do it because I don't like where the conversation is going in this kind of like new evolution spiritual jargon. And, so everyone's like, okay, well, yeah, meditation, that's kind of old, whatever. Let me tell you my new meditation method, or let's just do like, ayahuasca every day and become super spiritual and so it's
copyright
like
it's my idea. Copyright. This is my
copyright. Yeah, the ayahuasca diet, you know what I mean? And it's just like all this extreme shit.
Ayahuasca like, cleanse.
Yeah, totally. It's like and it is a cleanse, but people aren't ready for it, right? It's a very powerful medicine, and so you got all these people at Burning Man just like vomiting up and like what camp are you in? Where do you belong? And it's all the same shit, right? And it's all these like children trying to like fit in junior high.
Oh, I know.
And there's wonderful people there. There's wonderful art. There's wonderful music. I'm not dissing the actual like powerful, majestic parts of that movement, but all of these wannabes that are like mosquitoes or ticks on the ass of anything that is interesting, coming in and posing, right?
Yes.
Like and pretending to be a part of something and then judging and just falling away from the truth and the essence of what Burning Man used to be, which and it still is, which is about music and art and a culture. And now it's like, well, I'm at camp so-and-so and we spent $150,000 on our Winnebago and we have the best drugs. It's like,
look at our lights. Look at our lights.
We're so much better than you. Yeah, we have better speakers. And it's the same shit over and over and over again. And so, someone's got to take a stand. And I'm not like the only guy taking a stand, but like there's a lot of people out there as a voice of reason saying, this ain't spirituality. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I was in solar for a while. And in fact, I'm still doing, like, I'm like you, I'm a serial entrepreneur, but recovering type A workaholic, and trying to make sure I actually carve in time for me time and meditation. And I'm saying no more often to things because I don't give a shit about fitting in. I want to stand out. And the way I can do that is to have time with myself, to a relationship with myself. That's what spirituality, like you said, it really is. So, I learned actually that, Elon Musk got his ideas for solar when he went to a Burning Man party. And that was like when it was really authentic. And so what I want to go back and do is, you went on a great mic drop rant right there. That was awesome. So I think that it's important.
Hold on. I'll hold it up this way and then just drop it.
Just break it. You have no attachment to that thing anyway. Money, whatever. You just whatever. Buy it on Amazon. Yeah, Amazon. One day shipping. But I could see like the 5 or 8-year-old ago Diane going, he's like judging the things that I'm doing. I mean, I do those things and like he's judging the fuck out of me and like, oh my God, maybe I'm not real. And so it potentially would have shaken my existence that long ago had I not been grounded in my truth. So I think that it's important, you guys, to hear that Pedram is not judging you for wearing Lulu pants or like drinking Starbucks. He's not judging you for that stuff. I think the judgment, I don't even know if the word is judgment, but I'm
pointing out how ridiculous it all is.
Yes, to identify with one thing that is hope that is not the path to your heart to happiness.
It's ridiculous. So if you throw your hat in and identify with ridiculous, you become ridiculous. So don't self-identify with anything that's ridiculous. And if you start looking around you, pretty much everything's fucking ridiculous. The only thing that isn't is love. And the only thing that isn't is the essence of who you are. And it's the only game in town.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And this is part of what I talked with. You probably have heard of JP Sears before. He did it. You have to watch his funny video. I'll send it to you. He did it. It's like a spoof on what spirituality is and talking about yoga, and just he's got like 1 million hits on this one show, this one little episode. You'll like it. You'll enjoy him. Anyway, he talks about, and what we talked about the other day is how today people are they're like allergic to love. They're like so scared. And the work of Brene Brown is we're afraid to get vulnerable. And that's the true connection. And where I learned to get more vulnerable was in India. And I'm going to quote something. This is just not a quote. It's just what you wrote in this book. It says, find spirituality if religion has failed you. And this is about travel. It was 4 years ago. I was allergic to America. And I was like, fuck all this. I was living in Santa Monica. I was teaching yoga there. I was, doing yoga with the best of the best. I was training with the best of the best. I was dating the best of the whatever. I was in that zone, you're from there. And I was like, I'm still not happy. And I went and I traveled the world alone. And I went to India and I went to Thailand and I went to Brazil. I ended in India intentionally because I wanted to kick my ass. I wanted to shake my world. I wanted to rock my ego. I wanted to question who I really was. And like we said, exfoliate my identity and learn who I really was. And you wrote, I learned more about spirituality on the streets of India than I did at any ashram. Sometimes life experience is the greatest teacher, and we need to be open to receive lessons in whatever form they come. And then you wrote, the exploration of essence of this reality is where they all come together. Don't accept dogma, and said, find the answers on your own. Then the practice is yours and not something you blindly follow. That hit me hard because I remember when I was in India and I was running around these temples, and here I am, like this blonde American, like, where am I supposed to stand? Am I allowed to be here? Is this like, am I going to get taken to jail and die? Everybody's like, oh, you're going to India? There's terrorist attacks happening there. I'm like, there's terrorist attacks happening more in America than there is anywhere in the world, on TV mainly, and it's all fabricated. So I felt more accepted, loved, and brought in and connected with these people I could not even speak a lick of the same language to, who were like, oh, come in and join us. And then here's the puja, join the puja. And then I got brought into the magic temple and the golden temple with, these ammas and crazy places. And I was just led because I just surrendered to it. So talk about travel, exploration, vulnerability, and just surrendering into how we find our truth, because that's what people are probably asking me now. How do I find out how do I discover myself? How?
What did you like to do when you were a little girl? If you would let your feet do the walking, where would you walk to? What have you always wanted to see? What like, if you're exhausted, what would you want to be doing other than, balling up and watching TV? Like, where would you take your vacations and why? And really just start getting into that. And a lot of times it's still cloudy, right? And so then you just start digging into the essence of who you are. And that essence is oftentimes hidden because of all the trauma, the wounds, the pain. And so you start learning to love others and be of service to others. And in doing so, you start loving yourself. And so it is about surrender. And newsflash, it's not about you. Who the hell are you? Stop taking you so seriously. You, me. It's like this freaking opera, right? It's about surrendering. Like, I'm nobody. Like, I don't care. Like, I don't care who I think I am. And anytime I do, I get gut checked by reality. Who cares what the fuck I did and what movie I made? None of that matters. Like, I'm in the back of like lecture halls where I'm going to be like the keynote speaker, and I'm sitting on the ground stretching, and they're like, "Well, no, you should sit over here." I'm like, "Why?
No.
Am I better than these people? I'm here to hang out with them. I'm here to meet them, right?" Like, don't take yourself seriously. And when you do so, then you could be of service and find places where you could help others. And as you do so, you start learning who you really are, and then you let your feet do the walking, right? But we come from this culture where it's like, at the ripe age of like 16 or 17, we have to like decide what we want to do for the rest of our lives. Like, what's your major? Are you going to be a doctor? Are you going to be a lawyer? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Tell us the answer. What's the rest of your life going to look like? And it's like, that is so much pressure on a kid that's just trying to get laid, right? It's just so much pressure on a kid who's just trying to like, deal with like cliques in high school and just got out of junior high, trying to figure out who they want to be for the rest of their lives and make a proclamation of such. We live in this culture where we have to declare who we are instead of taking time to find out who we are. So it's all predicated on a lie, from junior high to high school to picking your major and deciding what you're going to do. And culturally, that's starting to change a little bit. Mm-hmm. But there's Australians do this, Israelis do this, Indians do this, Native Americans do this. Like, you go on your vision quest. Go find out who you are. I don't know who the hell you are. You don't know who the hell you are. Go figure it out. Then be doing what it is that brings you happiness and brings the maximum amount of benefit to the world that you live in, and brings joy and brings the most service out of you to your world. And that's what you should be doing. And then just work hard.
And that right there, it sounds sexy. It sounds so sexy. It sounds so warrior. It sounds like, yeah, I'm going to get up and do this tomorrow. And then like 3 days after people hear our talk, they're going to be right back to their corporate job, who, if you exude or exemplify any kind of emotional compassion toward another person, when you're an authoritative figure or a manager of some kind, you could potentially get fired. So you can't be in your authentic state ever. And it's tough because people living in these corporate worlds thinking, how do I be authentic in a corporate setting? I mean, it's like, you can't. There's only so much of a percentage of how much you can be authentic. So I know that that's a big challenge right now. I actually had, the reason my last boyfriend and I broke up was because he was really high up in his corporate world and he couldn't show emotion at work. So then he came home and he couldn't show emotion either. And it was like, ooh, how you do one thing becomes how you do everything. And so I know people are thinking, well, I can't. I mean, the context of how I live right now, and I have to survive and I have to make money. I can't be authentic. I can't do this. So, day to day, what can people do outside of work and take baby steps toward that until they find out more and more who they are, to step away from who they're not?
Yeah. First of all, the literal translation of Kung Fu is hard work. And Kung Fu is a way of life. And so most people say they want transformation, but they're not going to put in the work to get there. I want to become a health coach. Oh shit, well, I have to study to be a health coach. And then what's going to make me the best health coach out there? Well, I got to read a lot and I got to work a lot and I got to help a lot of people. And the more people I help, the better I get. So am I willing to work hard to be the best health coach I can be? Right? From there, sorry, I'm frozen again. I want to make sure you're here.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, cool. So you're frozen. From there, the essence of following that means that, like, okay, so fine, you got some stiff, and this is changing a lot, but if you have to keep a stiff upper lip and wear your corporate armor and go and, be that person at your job, the answer is probably that's not a healthy, vibrant place for you to express the entirety of who you are, but it's how you butter your bread. I get it. What time are you done with work? 5 o'clock? Great. That's when you go to your dance class. That's when you go to your jiu-jitsu class. That's when you go get yourself plugged into something that brings you out of that bullshit. And you run in the mornings, and on your lunch break, you get away and you go do something awesome. And you just fill your life with vitality outside of there, and then come up with an action plan to start working yourself on a new trajectory. Okay, so my career path right now is here, and I'd like to go here. okay, what are the steps I need to take to get there in the next 100 days? And then what do I need to do in the next 60 days, 30 days? And then what do I need to do every single day to get me to that place? And what action do I need to take? What action, which means work, karma, what action needs to come out of me to manifest that other life? Because most of us think that we make a decision and then we talk about it and that's going to make it happen. That's bullshit. Life is hard work. And anyone who I know who's successful, that's living the life of their dreams, worked their ass off to get there. And now it's like, oh my God, I can't believe they got it so easy. You work and you don't feel sorry for yourself. And when you get there, then you reap the rewards. It's like farming or gardening. You don't get an abundant crop as soon as you start planting seeds. It takes a little time. But you have to slowly, methodically, and deliberately till the soil, plant the seeds, water it every day, take care of it. And then one day, all of a sudden, everyone's like, damn, you got a great garden. This is awesome. And you're like, well, where were you 3 years ago when I started planting it, or 10 years ago?
I think a part of, I don't even know if you could see me anymore. My camera is acting a fool, but anyway, you could hear me. So I think a part of nature we can look to for inspiration there. And that's what you talk about a lot in your book too, is getting out in nature and just, instead of, cramming a bunch of senseless music and low vibrational frequency tunes in our ears at a really high octane level that actually literally paralyzes one of our senses. Get out in nature and listen to the birds and let that be the symphony. So how can we look to nature, and how much time do you recommend just getting out in nature, and what times of the day, and why is it beneficial to remind us how to cultivate and how to literally plant the seeds and watch them grow, and let gardening and taking care of life inspire us to do the same, to find our soul again?
The answer to that is simple: as often as you can get it. I was in my garden this morning. Every morning I get out there with my son. We pick spinach, we pick lettuce, we pick whatever's in season. Come in, I throw it into a blender, make a green smoothie. He knows where the food comes from. He pulls a carrot out of the earth and eats it. That's how we start our day. And we walk the dogs, right? And this isn't me standing in the middle of some boulder in Yosemite with this majestic thing around me. It's me, walking through suburbia with 2 Labradors trying to take a shit, right? But it's still, I'm outside looking at hummingbirds and trees, and I'm in in an environment where I'm savoring nature. And then, during the day, I don't take phone calls at my desk unless I have to be locked into the screen, which is seldom, right? Whenever I'm on a phone call, I take it on my cell phone and I tell the other person, I recommend you do the same. Let's take a walk. And I'll just walk around the neighborhood. I'll go up to the park. I got this great view. I go get under some tree, hang off a limb. I got headsets in, so I got my hands. So I'll hang off a tree limb and just allow for my shoulders to open up. I'll stretch my pecs. I'll do some lunges. I don't care. I need to be out there. I need to get sunshine because my world needs me to be full of vitality. And so for me to get crunchy under fluorescence is suicide. And, then we go hiking as often as we can. We go backpacking as often as we can. I go skiing as often as I can. It's my drug of choice. It's funny. My son, his cousin, his first cousin, so my brother-in-law's kid is 2 weeks older than my kid. And what they wanted to do for his birthday was go to Disneyland. I was like, all right, we live close enough. So we took the day off. We took the kids to Disneyland. And they're just running around, getting lost at every turn. It's like, oh, don't put your mouth on that. Oh, don't eat that. Oh, don't touch that. Oh God, now you have this. Now you have that. It's all this germ. Who's going to abduct my kid kind of energy, right? Not me, but it's it's just this big shit show. And so I'm sitting here going, this isn't even fun. The kids what are you going to stand in line for 35 minutes to go on a ride they don't understand? So for my kid's birthday, we're going out into nature, right? And that's part of it, is why are we not letting them run around and be the wild, beautiful animals that they are in nature and enjoy their natural essence? And instead we go to this place called Disneyland where all these imaginary, characters are dreamed up for kids who are no longer have access to nature to have a mouse and a dog and a all these different animals that they can relate to. All those days started in farm days when kids were even closer. Now it's all the cartoons are robots, schizoid, craziness. And I just think that,
it's true. It's So true.
There's something, there's something to be said for it. And I'm not, look, I make film, like I'm not like a Luddite. I like media, I like entertainment, but what I like a lot more is reality. And the shit they're putting
Yes.
on TV that they're calling reality is a phantasm. Reality
Yep.
is the life that you live outside of those four walls. It's the sunshine that you drink in. It's the moonshine that you drink in. It's the stars and the constellations that you recognize with your loved ones. And it's the walks that you take, taking in the energy and watching the bumblebees. That's reality. Let's get that back, right? The rest of it is just, it's BS. I know we're out of time. We only got a couple more minutes, but I can't be more emphatic about that. Is you got to take it back. And the way you take it back is you step up and you step in and you take ownership of your life and you work hard to have the life that you want, and you work hard to work through your bullshit and catch yourself when you're pretending to be someone you think you need to be, and just go back to being yourself, because it's a lot less energy.
Yeah, totally. I find that I can breathe better. I feel like there's like 10 less movie scripts that I have to memorize before I go to bed every night, because every person I'm experiencing in my life is a different me. And it's like, no, I don't care about being someone else every single time I have an encounter with, a different part of, there's different people in our lives for different reasons. So it's not to say that you have a different energy with one person than another, but it's just, I love what you said, is catching yourself and realizing that a part of this journey, there's going to be a shitload of failure in the sense that you feel like it's a failure, but really it's a success in the right direction, because you're actually trying to learn more about who you are. It's an awareness. So I want to end with this is, you said an amazing abundance amount of things today in terms of what people can do. What would you say the top 3 things that require just a little bit of effort that get them in the right direction, like the top 3 things that they can start doing to move through their heart to find their happiness, especially considering the amount of antidepressants that are being prescribed today for people, even at a young age, who are the hardest drugs to rebound off of that have never been prescribed?
Number one, eat real food. If it is artificial, processed, comes from a plant and not, is a plant, stop eating it. Eat real food. Your body will recognize it as such. Eat organic food that comes from good soil. It'll replenish your serotonin levels, and eventually you will find that you are just content and happy again. Number 2, get to moving around. Don't sit. I'm standing right now. You're on a standing station, right? Stay moving all day. Every 25 minutes, take a break. Do 10 lunges, 10 jumping jacks, 10 squats. Keep your blood pumping, because that's going to put blood to your brain. It's going to make you drink less caffeine, have less blood sugar yo-yo, and all of it. And number 3, if I have to reduce it, is value your sleep. You need the downtime to rebuild your cells, to detoxify your brain, and to really kind of clean out all the psychological bullshit that you're carrying around with you, and then you'll have a lot less of a burden that you drag around, and it gets easier to do the self-work. So do those 3 things and then get on path and charge. We need you. We need you to be your best you. We need you to step into your higher self. The world needs you. What the hell are you waiting for? Come join the party. It's really fun.
It so is. Cheers to all of that. Now, last question. Would you say that the sleep, when you say value your sleep, I think people think that they're getting 6 hours and they're good. I mean, is it 10 o'clock? Is it 12 o'clock? Does that matter?
I like a solid 8. I like to go down as it starts getting dark. We start taking down all of the artificial lights. I use Flux. I use a lot of different apps to kind of shield it. But I'm usually down by like 9. Because I want to be up at 5:36, and you got to get it in, and the quality hours are hard to get. So
yeah. And plus, hey man, if you want your testosterone, you're gonna lose like 15% for anything less than like 6.5 hours of sleep that you get. So hey, guys, I could sit here with him all day long, and actually it's ironic that we're both in Orange County right now. He lives in Irvine and I live in Newport Beach. So get the book. I mean, it's the most comprehensive thing that I've ever seen in terms of all of the different modalities in our lives that we can implement slowly or rapidly, depending on where you're at. That's what I love about what Pedram has put out, all of his work, the documentary that he has, well.org is his foundation. You guys got to visit. He's got also the website, theurbanmonk.com, and there's a 7-day reboot in there that you got to get a hold of too. This is a spiritual reboot. It's a mental reboot. It's an emotional reboot. It's the start to it. And you may lose some friends along the way because, again, that's part of the exfoliation of your identity shift. And just like the crabs at the bottom of the pot are always trying to pull that one that's trying to climb out and do their own thing down, you got to be the stronger crab. And that's why we do a lot of squats, right? So that our legs can be strong enough to jump out of the pot.
Love it. Love it.
With your grass-fed butter. So
thanks for having me. This has been awesome. I love the work that you're doing, and keep up the good work.
Pedram Rocket, thank you so much for being authentic. Pretty much what feels like 100%. Pretty much. But I know that's really hard to do.
I don't have the energy to pretend.
Exactly. All right, my friend. Heart to happiness, you guys. Pedram just said it really well. I think he kind of summed up the entire summit. So make sure you head on over there. And thank you again, Pedram. We'll see you very soon.
Thank you.